Not knowing how we'll get through this test, but holding on to faith, you know best. Nothing can catch you by surprise, 'cause you got this figured out, and you're watching us now. And when it looks as if we can't win, you wrap us in your arms and step in. And everything we need you supply. You've got this in control, and now we know that you made a way. When our backs were against the wall and it looked as if it was over, Lord, you made a way. And we're standing here only because you made a way. You made a way. Now we're here, looking back on where we've come from. It's because of you and nothing we've done to deserve the love and mercy you've shown. But your grace was strong enough to pick us up, and you made a way. When our backs were
against the wall,
and it looked as
it looked as if it was
over, Lord, you made a way. And we're standing here
only because you made
made a way.
a way.
When our backs were
against the wall,
and it looked
and it looked as if it was
over, Lord, you and only you, Lord, you made a way. And we're standing only because
you made a way.
hey, you move mountains and you cause walls to fall with your power. You perform miracles. There is nothing, no, that's impossible. And we're standing here only because you say you move. You cause walls with your
power,
perform miracles. There is nothing, no, that's impossible. And we're standing only because
you
say you move. You cause walls with you perform miracles. There is nothing, no, that's impossible. And we're standing only because
you
and we're standing here only because and we're standing here only because you made a way. You made a way. You made a way.
Made a way.
Hey, you made a way. Yeah. Don't know how.
Don't know how, but you did.
Hey, don't know how.
Don't know how, but you did it.
Hey, you made us. Don't know how, but you
Don't
did
know
it.
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 how,
And I
but you
don't
did
know
it.
why, but I'm grateful. I don't know why, but I'm grateful. Don't know why, but I'm grateful. Why you love me?
Don't know why, but
Hey,
I'm grateful.
why you good to me?
Don't know why, but I'm
Over
grateful.
and over and over and over. You keep on, keep on, keep on, keep on. Don't know
Don't know
why.
why, but I'm grateful.
Hey,
Don't know why, but I'm
don't know
grateful.
why.
Don't know why, but I'm
Don't
grateful.
know
Don't know why, but I'm
why.
grateful.
And we're standing here only because you made. Lord, we're standing here only because you made. And we're standing here only because you made. You move mountains. You cause walls to fall with your power. You perform miracles. There is nothing, no, that's impossible. And we're standing here only because you made. And we're standing here only because you made. Lord, we're standing here only because you made a way.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Is my mic on? Can y'all hear me? Good evening and welcome to our Black History program. I am Marva Williams and I'm the wife of Pastor Vidal Williams. So I would like to give honor to God and give honor to him and to my children and my Faith Bible Church family. Let's give ourselves a hand clap. And I would like to give honor to our guests tonight. We're just so happy to have you all here with us tonight. Anyone that's visiting with us for our Black History program, we welcome you, and we're just so happy that you're here with us tonight. I would just like to say a little bit about our program tonight. We decided to go way back in history. So tonight, we're just going to give you a little narration of way back, and then we are going to come up to today. And today is about people that's working in these positions that we went way back to. So they know what they're talking about. We didn't pull someone up here who'd had to do some research and tell us about this. we pull people that have actually worked in these positions or is still working in those positions. So what you hear tonight is real. It's real history. It's not something they made up. So when you hear it, you will know it's for real. So tonight, again, I would like to say welcome, 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 and thank you for coming.
The first real efforts in civil disobedience and helped usher in the new civil rights movement.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keeps telling me, don't hang around. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Then I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me, please. But he winds up knocking me to my knees. But oh, brother, help me, please. I couldn't last for long, but I think I'm able now to carry on. Oh, I was born by the river in a little bit of tent. Oh, but like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change will come.
Imagine showing up to your first day of school and being greeted by an angry mob and the National Guard. On September 4th, 1957, 9 African American students arrived at Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, formerly an all-white school. They were just teenagers, ranging in age from 15 to 17. They made their way through a crowd shouting obscenities and even throwing objects. Once the students reached the front door, the students were initially prevented from entering the school by the governor of Arkansas and the National Guard, and they were forced to go home. The students returned on September 25th. This time they were protected by federal troops, which President Dwight D. Eisenhower sent in. This caused national attention. The students were able to enter the school, finally integrating Central High School. This group of students became known as the Little Rock Nine.
My name is Luann Williams, and I'm a retired educator in the Baker County school system. Unlike the Little Rock Nine, I didn't have to have guards to escort me into the classroom. In 1970, a year before we went into integration, I was allowed to go over to the Baker County High School as several students went over there with me. And in my first day of class, as I walked to the classroom and went in to have a seat, the boy that was sitting in front of me pulled his chair away from me as though I had a disease or something was going on. That was my first experience I had with someone treating me other than with kindness or making me think that I was less than they were. Not only did that happen, but then in 1972, that was the year I was going to graduate from high school, we were taking the standardized test. As many of you, I look around, see classmates, were also in that group with us taking the standardized test. I didn't score as high on the test as I wanted to score. And so we had to sit down and meet with the guidance counselor. Meeting with the guidance counselor, she would go over your plans and what you wanted to do with your future. And she looked at my score and she said to me, I think you would probably do well at a trade school. And that just hurt me because my brother was in college. My parents had not gone to school other than having elementary education. And their entire thing for us was, we want you to go to college. We want you to graduate from high school. So that was in my mind. And listening to that person telling me I didn't need to go to college, I didn't believe what she thought. And if she had taken a look at my record, she would have found out that I was an honor student. I made principal's list. And if she'd looked a little bit further, she would have found out that I was going to be sitting on that stage with high honors when I graduated from high school in 72. So I went to Lake City Community College in 72. And people always say that God puts people in your life for a certain season. I believe that because there was a boy, don't tell Vern this, that I was liking at the time. And he told me, he said, I think that you would be an excellent teacher. You are so good. You do such a great job with kids. Have you ever thought about that? Well, I was majoring in business because that's what I had taken in high school. So I went ahead and I thought about it and decided, yes, I think I will do that because I wanted to go on. I didn't just want to go for 2 years. I wanted to have a 4-year degree. And I decided to start majoring in general courses. So when I graduated from Lake City Community College, I had an AA degree in arts and an AA degree in science. And then I went on to the University of Florida. Don't hate y'all. And as I went on to the University of Florida, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in education and started teaching kindergarten at Westside Elementary School. I taught there for 12 years. During my first year of teaching, the principal, who was Ronnie Kirkland, said to me later on, he said, there was a parent in your class who did not want his child to be in your classroom. And I know it was because of the color of my skin, but he did not remove that child from my class. And later on, I found out that gentleman became my best friend. He was always around me. Whenever he saw me, he hugged me because he knew that I loved his child and he knew that I was giving his child the best possible education that he could get. And then after being in the elementary school for 9 years, and I went and was working on my master's degree with other ladies. And after getting my master's degree, I was eligible to be a principal and also assistant principal. And when an opening came open at McClenny Elementary School, I applied for it and became an assistant principal there. When the principal left, I applied for her position, and I became the first Black principal after integration in this county. And thank you, it's God. I always give God the glory. And after becoming the first Black principal at the school, I was between McLean Elementary and Westside Elementary. And one year, I had a parent who was when I was at Westside Elementary, at McLean Elementary School, who came into the classroom, or he came into the front office. He was late, and we had a reading block, and we didn't allow parents to go down to the classroom. And he said to me, I'm going to take my child down to the classroom. And I said, I'm sorry, sir, you won't be able to take her down. I said, but I'll be happy to take her down to the classroom. He said, well, I want to take her down there. I said, I'm sorry, but we have a reading block, and explained everything to him. And then I looked at the child and I said, what's your name? She said, Megan. I said, Megan. I said, that's my daughter's name. I love that name. And I started talking to her and just was saying, well, I'll take her down. Come on, you're going to be okay. And I'll walk you down, and walked her down to the classroom. And later on, as soon as I walked back in the class and back into the office, my secretary said to me, she said, Miss Williams, you have a parent on the phone that wants to talk to you. And I said, okay. So I went in my office, picked up the phone, and he said to me, I said, this is Miss Williams. He said, the colored lady in the hallway, she said she was rude to me. And I said, sir, I'm that Black woman that you were talking to. And I said, I was not rude to you. And just went on to explain to him once again what was going on and how we were protecting that reading block for our students and how it was going to help them so much. So whenever I saw his daughter in the hallway, I would say, hey, Megan, how you doing? And she would say to me, hey, Miss Williams. And then he started to look at that. And I would say to him, hey, I won't say his name because you all might put it together. I'd say, hey, how are you doing? It's so good to see you. How's your day going? Are you doing all right? And he said, yes. And then he started to smile and he started to respond, because my sister used to tell me all the time, kill them with kindness. And she was talking about everyone, y'all. She wasn't just talking about white people. She was talking about Black people to kill them with kindness. Anyone that comes and tries to do something different, kill them with kindness. But after that, our secretary said to me, she said, Miss Williams, she said, you're the only person that he smiles at. He doesn't smile at us. I thought, kill them with kindness. You must not have heard your sister when she said that. But I just thank God, because God was in everything, every step of the way. He brought me through, just like that song said, he made a way. And I want to tell you something, when there is a person that says to you, no, don't take that, because that's not the last answer. In Jeremiah 29:11, God says, I know the plans I have for you. He didn't say somebody else's plans. He said the plans I have for you. So you keep moving forward. You keep going forward. You keep believing in yourself, and he will make a way for you.
Literary tests were used to keep people of color and sometimes poor whites from voting, and they were administered at the discretion of the officials in charge of voter registration. If the officials wanted a person to pass, he could ask the easiest question on the test. For example, who is the President of the United States? The same official might require a Black person to answer every single question correctly in an unrealistic amount of time in order to pass. Despite being intelligent and well-educated, you might not pass the test for simple reason that the test was created with failure as the goal. Even if you know the correct answers to all the questions, the official administering the test might still decide that you have failed.
Hello, my name is Carol Ruiz, and I was the first Black to be hired at the voter registrations office. I was hired up under Nita Crawford. During my tenure working there, I was undecided about going at first. Let me back up. I was undecided about going because I knew how Baker County was. So when she called me, it was on a Friday evening, and I said, well, let me think about it. So I went there that Saturday morning when she had me to come. She let me put in a few registrations, and I did for about 6 hours. She said, if you want the job, it's yours. I ain't filled out an application yet, and I done retired. So I haven't filled out an application yet. So I started in 2000, September of 2002, and I retired in July of 2019. And when I tell you, every day wasn't Sunday, but I thank God that I made it. I only had one occurrence since I was there, and it was back in 2008 when President Obama ran. When I tell you that was the most difficult time for me, I got all the remarks, I got all the comments, but I kept doing my job. One particular voter, and I'm not going to call any name, because like Sister Williams said, you might know who it is. He stood in front of me and he said, "This one vote that Coon won't get." And I never looked up. I kept typing his name in, getting his ballot ready for him to vote. He got his ballot and he voted and he exited the building. But Nita always told me, she said, if you have any problems, she said, don't hesitate to come get me. She said, because I will not have you to be belittled here while I'm here in charge. And that helped me, along my way. It helped me. And a lot of times I felt that, like she said, they always said that we couldn't do it. But I overachieved myself when I went. She had trusted me with a lot of things. I had got so that a lot of things she didn't know that I was doing. I was signing her name. I had got so good that it looked like she signed it because I learned from the best. But my 17, I stayed there 17 years, and I got to experience a lot of things. I went into the nursing homes, I went into the jails, I went to the schools, I did a lot of outreach. She entrusted me to do a lot of that work. And we still today remain friends. Out of all of those obstacles I went through, we still remain friends today. She came to my house Saturday. We stayed 2 hours. She bought me some banana nut bread. And I think my brother is trying to take my friend away because she's going to make sure that he has some as well. But I can tell you today, I enjoy serving the people and I enjoy doing my job because she never made me feel uncomfortable. It was the people on the outside. It was the people on the outside. And I thank God for my opportunity that I had. I don't know if I would have made it if I would have came back up in the times that Sister April read. But I do thank God that my time, those 17 years, all of them wasn't good, but my good outweigh my bad. I'll put it like that. And if I can leave one thing with you today, register. You can now pre-register at the age of 17. And when your child turns 18, the system would automatically update them. Because if you don't vote, you can't complain. Thank you.
Military leaders practiced discrimination throughout the history of America's wars. From the nation's beginning, they expressed doubt that Black soldiers had the mental capacity, discipline, or fortitude to fight, and thus were hesitant to put firearms in the hands of those that were enslaved or formerly enslaved. As a result, Black troops were reduced to carrying out menial support duties, such as digging trenches and handling food or carting supplies. It was usually only when troop numbers reduced that generals allowed Black soldiers to fight. And when they did, they often received the most dangerous assignments and fought for longer stretches than other units, and they did so in segregated conditions. Throughout America's wars, Black soldiers have proved their dedication, discipline, and valor time and time again.
Soldier, attention! Carry on.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandra Watts Jones. Um, I'm I'm gonna kind of reflect on some things that I encountered while I was in the military, and I'm standing here to you today, and I have to put this in here. I'm standing here in front of you today because of my friend Carolyn. I wasn't gonna do it. She told me, "You do everything else, do that." So I'm doing what she said. So as I reflect to you on my journey from the small town of Baker County, I graduated, and when I graduated, I lingered around for 2 years trying to help my dad because my mom died when I was at an early age, and I was determined to help my dad because I had three siblings. I was the oldest of the four. So I wanted to do something to really pick up and so he wouldn't have to work so hard. And I couldn't think of nothing. College wasn't getting it. I did everything. So one day I sat down with him and I told him, I said, Dad, I think I'm gonna join the military. He said, you sure? I said, yes, that's what I want to do. I said, that's the way I can go and help you. So I did. In August of 1979, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. He got up and he drove me to the AFE station in Jacksonville. I stayed there overnight. The next morning, I got up. Everybody that was going got up, and we flew in to Fort Dix, New Jersey, where I went to basic for 12 weeks. At that time, it was a 76 Charlie, which is now a 92 Yankee, which is a material supply specialist. I did that, and when I got there, everything was good until I got off the bus. At the whole time I can remember, I never experienced any kind of racial. The only time I felt like I experienced it when I got off the bus. I had this big luggage, about big as this thing here, and this little white man, he was standing at the bottom of the hill, and he saw me coming. He says, soldier, where you going with all that luggage? I said, sir, I'm reporting for duty. He said, you got 5 minutes to make it to that hill with all that luggage. I had a big trunk and I was struggling. He said, move. He was just yelling at me and I was just crying. I was like, I want to go home. You ain't finna holler at me. So I struggled, and this little girl, she helped me pull all my stuff up there. And we got up there, we got set up in the barracks and everything. And when we got set up, the drill sergeant, he walked through that night and he said, told everybody, he said, everything you brought, pack it up, put it back in your suitcase, send it home to your parents because you ain't gonna need it for the next 12 weeks. And he said, everything except for underwear. I said, I got to send all this back home to my daddy. He said, that's what I said. So I was getting discouraged, but I hung in there. So I got that done. I spent the 12 weeks there. I did my basic training. It was rough. It was rough, but I did my basic training. So after my 12 weeks was up, and I passed that part, the basic training, we got loaded up about, it was like 5 o'clock. They move you early in the morning. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I flew out to Fort Lee, Virginia. That's where I went to do my schooling. And I think that was like 10 to 12 weeks. And everything was good. I enjoyed it. I stayed there for the 12 weeks. And then after the end, they sent me back to Gainesville. That was the closest station with my MOS that I could do. It was the 301st Field Hospital in Gainesville, Florida. And there, my MOS required me to be the supply specialist, and I was the supply specialist in the motor pool. That means I ordered parts for the tankers, the Jeeps, the Hummers, the Deuce and Quarters, or whatever. And all those things, I had to learn how to drive them. So I drove them. And when we moved, I always wanted to drive the biggest thing, which was the Deuce and a Half. And I enjoyed that. Um, After that, I stayed there. I stayed there for many years until my unit deployed and everything, and then I kind of like left. But as of today, my some of my friends from the unit, they still call and check on me, and we still get together and whatever. But like I said, I never experienced nothing, that was really bad in the military. But it was hard. It was really hard. And for my experience, I learned how to be disciplined. I learned how to be humble. I um, I was physical at that time. Matter of fact, I was the platoon PT runner. I used to do cadence. I achieved a lot of things in the military, a lot of things that help me today when I present them to whatever I want to do. So um, that was about it, but I really enjoyed it. And right now today, if I could, I tried to go back, but if I could, I would go back to the military. And that's it.
Great. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to speak during this Black History program. It's truly an honor to speak about the involvement of Blacks that served this country faithfully and the recipient of so many, many, many awards. This great country we live in called the United States of America. My name is William Green Jr. I served faithfully for 24 years in the Army. I loved it. I enjoyed it. If I had the voice, I'd been on draft posters again, been on back in the Army. The discipline I learned could never be forgotten. I still have it today. I'm structured militarily. I stayed 24 years, so it's a little different. But I'm gonna talk about military in general, about the wars that we encountered in the country, and I'm talking at the end a little bit of my own stuff, some stuff I experienced while I was in the service myself. Black folks goes back to the first recorded war in the country, the American Revolutionary War. Some call it the Civil War. And they fought on both sides. They fought on both sides. And that sounds strange, but I'll explain why. A war is defined that a nation or a group of people began to fight. The top reason is freedom, land, religion. Freedom, land, and religion. Somewhere in that equation of the cause of the war, you'll see the word freedom. I have done a lot of research, and all of them go back, that word always used in explaining what caused the war. What caused the war? Freedom, or go. I could list a lot of names and achievements that would take me a while. So I'm gonna list a few names and that I'm gonna remember who I know about our history. Throughout history, we have fought on behalf of a nation that enslaved people, terrified people, discriminated against people, and before the Emancipation Proclamation, many fought for the chance to earn their personal freedom. Their personal freedom. A lot of times we take this celebration for granted, but they don't know the history of their own people. We don't know our own history. And I'm not gonna do a test today, but most of us don't know, and I don't know it either. I'm not bragging. I don't know my own history. But it behooves you to learn your history. Know where you started at, so you know where you're going to. Throughout history, Black Americans have fought on behalf of a nation that enslaved them and terrorized them and discriminated against them. But before the Emancipation fought, many fought for the chance to earn their personal freedom. I said it twice. Throughout all American battles, wars, there have been a dedication, discipline, and valor shown by Black people time and time again. A few Blacks, and I'm gonna mention a few, 88 Black men, no women, have received the highest recognition the military offer, the Congressional Medal of Honor. They're getting higher than that as far as award. 8 black people have received it also. The first one guy that's received it by the name of Sergeant William Carney, recognized for heroic in protecting the American flag. The American flag happened in Charleston, South Carolina, my hometown. If you go down there, see a big old monument of him holding that flag up. The odds was against them. They fought against at Camp Wagner, 1,800 people. It was only 600 people from 54th, Massachusetts. There was a movie called Glory. Most of y'all probably seen that a couple years back. Glory with, I can't remember the guy's name there. Yeah, that's him. Y'all know who he is. Yeah, that's him. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. It's still on YouTube. Watch it. It's a fighting organization. But the 54th did not all come from Massachusetts. They came from down south because it was the first unit organized all black. All black, except the leader. The commander was not black. Everybody was black in that unit, and they fought. And for those who live in the area, they got a little battlefield down called Lusty Battlefield, or Battle by the Farm. Every year, they do a reenactment. Every year. And there's all the black soldiers in their Confederate and their Revolutionary uniform fighting each other. And if you've not seen that, it's really a good education to see the military soldiers and they fought, okay? The next war I'm talking about very briefly, it's the Mexican War. It happened in 1816 to 1948, and we gained a lot of states. And I know we get very political, not political today, Black History Month, but Texas was owned by the Mexicans. After the war stopped it. When the war ended, it's now owned by the United States. And I say that with deep sincerity because in my ministry, I have a lot of guys trying to cross the border. And they are good workers, good people. They're trying to get across. But my people came across on slave ships in my hometown, Charleston, South Carolina. If you've never been there, you need to go visit. A lot of history started right there in Charleston. And a lot of black folks in Charleston. Not even to other places, but a lot of them live in Charleston, okay? World War II. Hitler invaded Poland. Millions of people served. Over 1.2 million people served. Many blacks died during that war. About 30 countries involved in that war, different nationalities. On July the 6th, 1948, President Harry Truman signed an executive order banning segregation in the armed forces. It's just like another rule they signed. It's in paper, but on the ground it ain't happening. Now I know people living in Soundson got their 40 acres of mule on paper, but didn't happen. But some of them got it. Some of them got the 40 acres and mule. I was told in South Carolina they're still fighting for the 40 acres and the mule. Most of the time the mule died, but the land's still there. But the military did not segregate. They did announce it, but they still have racial problems. A lot of racial problems in the military. I'll talk about a few things on the end about what I experienced myself. The Korean War was a civil war between the South and the North. And Russia got involved because it's about politics, communism, democracy. The U.S. supported democracy, the Russians supported communism. And they fought. They got involved. And to this day, we still got people of force in Korea. Still got a force in my daughter, fiance is going to Korea next week for 18 months. Because of the war that started back in the 50s. Still deploying American soldiers, black and white. Black and white. Afghanistan war, what started it? Well, the attack on September 11th. Everybody, most of y'all probably remember that day. When they attacked, the airplane attacked New York. the buildings, Empire State Building, they attacked it. And that's what started the Iraqi war. A lot of blacks that's here today, living today, fought in that war. Kuwait, Afghanistan. The Afghanistan war lasted for 20 years. 20 years. Still, 20 years still fighting. Wars don't end when CNN or ABC quit reporting. There's still the after effects of people that got hurt, got shot up, families bombed up. World War II, we still got people still dying from the great bomb they dropped. So although we live in the land of free, and I keep saying the great country USA, most of you all have not been overseas, you don't know how great the country is. You gotta go somewhere else and live. And I say that, I spent 11 years in Germany. Germany not a bad country to live at, but I also spent a year in Vietnam. And I know a lot of guys that come across that border. And I know it's a very touchy political issue. I say let them come. We can feed them. I know who buy the food here. He's not gonna buy our food. But we got all kinds of reasons to keep these people to come in the country. And I'm not gonna get political with y'all today, so I'm gonna be quiet about that one. Number of death, number of wars, loss, fighting for the cause. Inconsistent. The number of death is so inconsistent if you try to Google this stuff here, because a lot of death in war don't take place on the battlefield. It's not always the enemy weapons that cause a person to die. A lot of times people die after the war because of ailment or some wound they received during the war. So it's hard to get true statistics to try to tell you how many people actually died in a war. And I can tell you this much. There are many, many, many people awarded medals for bravery and a hero and being heroes. We have two very powerful black people. Secretary of Defense, Colin Powell, very high position as a black man. Secretary of State currently, Lloyd Austin. Secretary of State, a very powerful position. For those who don't know that, the president going to the country about war, he asks him. He give his assessment. Before President Biden make a decision, he consult that secretary, a military man from Alabama, dedicated to his service, serve faithfully. Brave people that serve. And I say this, now I'm talking a little bit about myself, because my military career had an ugly start. That's probably the best way to say it, had an ugly start. Back in 68, 67, 68, Secretary of Defense McNamara opened what they call the 3,000. 3,000, they were dousing folks in the military during that time frame. And the word on the street in South Carolina, Columbia was, hey, if you volunteer, you won't get sent to Vietnam. So we volunteered for the draft. A lot of black guys went with me in 1969 in the Army. They lowered the standards. Because the word on the street was volunteer. And it was encouraging people to volunteer, all they were drafting people. And a lot of people dodged the draft. They were way too dodge the draft. Y'all don't understand the draft. It ended in 73 anyway, but it was way too dodge the military draft. And if you had a lot of money, a lot of power, you had to go to war. All military. Well, a lot of black folks didn't have a lot of money back in those days. I think my parents didn't have enough money to keep me out of the war, so. And I made some mistakes myself. But anyway, a little bit about myself in the military. I went in the military in 1969 at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and I took boot camp there, and I got transferred to Fort Leonard, Missouri, and I learned my MOS. And some of the case say about two things. MOS stands for Military Occupational Specialty. It's your job that you're required to do in the military. When you raise your right hand, they give you a certain job you're required to do, and by numbers. Mine was 12 Bravo, and Dwayne can relate to that because I was a combat engineer. Well, what did combat engineer do? Well, we blow things up. We set minefields up. We got two purposes. We either make way for our folks to go forward or stop them from their folks to come in us. Any way we can. It's a rough job. It growed me up as a person. But anyway, I spent 22 hours. I think I've done my Vietnam tour. The Army lied to me. They told me after Vietnam, go back to a stateside unit. They sent me to Germany, a place called Wildfleck in Germany. Wildfleck is 8 miles from the East German border. And back then, it was a lot of stuff going on in East Germany. It's still under communist control. But I survived, and I'm just the ugly part of my military career. I finally came home on vacation for 30 days, and I didn't want to go back. I was tired of the military, tired of the Army, and I didn't want to go back. I stayed 29 days. I did my 30-day vacation, and I didn't go back. On the 29th day, James O. Duncan, a white first sergeant, called my mother and said, your son, next day, we call it a deserter and can be shot on the spot. That day, my mother took me to the military base and reported to him. I should have been court-martialed. Oh, it's funny now, I laugh too, but it wasn't funny back then. It wasn't funny back then. It was not funny back then. But I overcame all that. The commander almost got relieved because technically I should have got court-martialed because it was a serious offense. Once you join the military or get drafted, you can't quit. You're stuck for your obligation. And a lot of people don't realize that, and I got fed up. There's more to the story, but I won't tell you that right now. Some of y'all virgin ears might hear the wrong thing and take it out of contents. But anyway, one of the things that affected me in Vietnam to this day, I met a nice, friendly Henry Aaron Hawk from Pensacola, Florida. We rode to Vietnam together on a plane, 22 hours worth, with one stop. By coincidence, we got assigned to the same unit. He had a girlfriend in Pensacola he loved dearly. We couldn't call her the way to call nobody. On the 5th day, he took an M16 rifle and put it right here and blew his head off. It still bothers me today. Because I still see the blood that flashed on me. I was showing my wife, she said, you been in the photo album? I said, yes. I don't look at them that often, but I got 3 books, photo albums of Vietnam. And my hate part of Vietnam was nice. The people were nice. The country is nice, hot, but nice. But when we came back to the United States, Oakland, California, on the bus, people riding with signs, and they're shaking the bus. We only followed order from our government, but they hated so much turmoil in the country about the Vietnam War. And I experienced that as a 19-year-old, and I still carry that today. I still carry some scars that's from the war. But I enjoyed the military. Like I said earlier, I came back home, I went back and became a model soldier. I really, really enjoyed the Army. And like I said earlier, I hope everybody, all young men, go and stay. They pay very well after they retire. I can tell you that for facts. But I'm going to say this much before I end my story. I stand before you today, and I salute all the men and women who endure the racism, hatred, and in our defense of the country. The hatred we endure and the defense. I had one fight with my roommate. One fight in the Army in my 24 years against my own first source. He used the N-word, and I used the right hand upside his face. Because we were good friends after that. But he's from South Carolina too. But I never forgot that. I say to you today, young men and young ladies, old men and old ladies, learn from the past and move on in life. Listen to the word of God that recorded in the book of John. When you answer these three questions, who am I? Where am I? And where am I going? John said, I give you a new commandment. I give to you that you love one another. Just as I have loved you. Love one another.
Civil rights and police brutality. During the 1950s and early 1960s, the civil rights movement challenged police brutality and other forms of racial segregation and discrimination. In most cities during the civil rights era, there were no Black police officers. The police officers engaged in extraordinary violence against African Americans, and there were no repercussions against them. Forms of police brutality have ranged from assault and battery, torture, and murder. There were unmerciful beatings of civil rights protesters by police officers. They were clubbed, watered down with fire hoses, and allowed their dogs to bite them. There were mass arrests, jail beatings, lynchings, and church bombing. Some of the problems we see that contribute to a culture of police misconduct include improper training and a lack of accountability.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ramar Hope, and I promise you I will not be before you that long. But good evening. I'm a police officer with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. I have been so for 23 years, and I believe the good Lord is going to bless me to make 2 more, and I'll be 25, and I'm going to be done. Thank you. It has been a great career. It has been a blessing. But if you standing in front of the door on that last day, I'm going to knock you over because I'm ready to move on to the next phase of my life. But I've always, since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a police officer because I was raised with my grandmother, and we used to watch, they used to watch all those old Westerns. And I used to see Matt Dillon, and he was pulling that gun. And I see little Joe Cartwright, Hoss, Adam and them fighting. I see the Barclays. But what I did not see was people that look like me. And that was the question. Y'all remember what I tell you, image matters. Image to a kid, image matters because it develops their sense of imagination, their sense of dreaming. But I did not see me. Got a little older, messed around and saw Shaft. Everybody knows Shaft. Right, and then I saw Sidney Poitier in his portrayal of Detective Virgil Tibbs in The Heat of the Night, and how they were against him, but he beat them with his intellect to show them that, hey, look, I'm just as good, if not better than you. And like the word said, your gift will make room for you. Your gift will make room for you. So I decided, hey, I think I can do this. So I started off in corrections. Man, let me tell you what. Hated corrections. It wasn't about the job, but in corrections, your days is set by your CO, your commander, back about 25 years ago. So my days were Tuesdays and Wednesdays. They did not change. I'm off Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Everybody off on the weekend, going to them Gator games, and I'm just Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I say, no, man. They say they hiring over there at JSO. I say, it's time for me to go. So I did the crossover. Did a ride along with Pastor Vidal, who was over there, and who I really need to thank because a lot of difficult things or a lot of hard ways were made easy because I had a reference point. I had a hookup. But God will order your steps. And so I went through and got on the higher class. So I quit. I didn't put in a resignation or anything. I quit the state. It was just burning my leave. Man, got there to the class and they said, you're hired as a paid class, but if you fail one of our tests, you're unemployed. Unemployed. I done put all my eggs in one basket. I got one shot, one kill. I ain't told to one. And didn't tell her. She don't know. But like I said, God put me in position, so I made it through. I'm in FTO now. So we're hearing all these stories about FTO, all these crazy training officers. The Bible said that iron sharpens iron, and he lined that thing up. Everybody had the same temperament that I was exposed to, had the same temperament with me. Now, I didn't have any black FTOs. All of my FTOs were white guys, and they taught me right by the numbers. They would say, Hope, hey, I'm going to teach you by the numbers the right way. You're going to learn little shortcuts on the way, but we're going to teach you by the numbers. And they did, and I good guys, and I'm friends with them to this day. As far as racism, hey, look, I experienced racism from the public, my white brothers and sisters, and my black brothers and sisters. Everybody is aggressive and combative toward the police, but I'm equal opportunity. If you deserve to go to jail, I'm gonna take you. And more so than racism, it's this culture. We got old school culture, we got this new school culture. I was raised old school, where we said, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. If an adult told you something, that was law. We didn't debate. We didn't have a conversation. You were to be seen and not heard. There was no timeout. There was no use your words. There was no let's count to 10. My mama had two. It was show out and knockout. If you show out, I'm gonna knock you out. And when I came to, 20, 30 minutes later, whatever was wrong was, it had them been taken care of. She didn't, she didn't play that. Old school versus new school. Everybody in here know what that smell like when that hot comb hit the back of them nails and it's in the house. That's old school. We know what that is. If they told you, hey, look, if them street lights beat you home, you're gonna be in trouble. We know that. New school. Gunplay. Can't put them guns down. Marijuana. I could be driving down I-10, 70, 80 miles an hour, and the weed smoke is coming in. It's not yes, ma'am. It's not no, ma'am. It's bruh. Sup. And as a police officer, I'm gonna put myself in between you and the danger. We took that oath. My fellow police officers, we don't have time to focus on black and white. Is there racism? Yes. Do we need to expose it? Yes. If the police do wrong, do we need to be held accountable? Yes. But there's something to be said about being a good citizen. Okay, let's talk. Let's figure this thing out, because there's only so many times I'm gonna tell you to start resisting. I gotta do my job. There's only so many times I'm gonna say, let me see your hands. When I, as an officer with almost 25 years, when I see it going sideways, I tell them, hey, you decide how this is going to end. We can talk and try to figure this out. But if you make me make a decision, you're going to make me decide between going home to see my family and playing around with you. Well, who you think going to win? And I'm just, it is, but we signed up for it. And like I said, I will put myself in between you and that danger. And I'll take your criticism. I'll take your critiques, but we need your prayers, because this is a hard job. You're called to do this job. You don't do it because of money. You do it because you're skilled to do it. And like I said, it's a calling. And so we need your prayers, because you can see some things that you cannot forget, and it sticks with you. I've seen things that I wish I could forget, and it bothers me, but God always got a ram in the bush. I've also seen some things to say, God, thank you, because that could have been me. That could have been my daughter that I just saw strung out here on drugs. That could have been my son, my mama, who just got took away. So anytime I want to complain, I have to tell God, thank you, because he's kept me all these years. I don't know how many bullets that I dodged. I don't know how many times he sped me up to avoid something. I don't know how many times he delayed me to avoid something. But police, we need you. We need the community. Um, we need to be one. We can't do it without you. You can't do it without us. You know, things that you should know. You need to know what your police's policy is. You know, you need to know what their traffic policy is. You need to know what their use of force policy is. If they have body cameras, you need to know what that policy is. If you want to make a complaint, you need to know what the policy is. Okay. You need to know what your rights are as a citizen, what the Constitution says. Okay. This helps us, and this also helps you. Sometimes it feels like a thankless job, but like I said, you do it because it's a calling. You know, it's a calling. And God has kept me. He's going to continue to keep me. And lastly, I want to thank those that came before me, those that took those fire hydrants, took those dog bites, those that didn't make it back, so I could have this opportunity. I want to thank those that don't look like us, that stood in the gap. We didn't do this by ourselves, y'all. You know, we didn't do this by ourselves. People, God moved on people to stand in the gap to do what He said. And I'm grateful and I'm thankful. Continue to pray for me. Continue to pray for your law enforcement. Continue to pray for their families, because what these officers, police, corrections, what they go through, their family goes through. You know, and it can be a challenge. And it is rewarding, but anything that costs takes a toll. I appreciate y'all. God bless y'all. Drive safe. Wear your seatbelt.
Correctional officers. Prison sounds like a very bad place to be. It sounds like slavery. And at some of our institutions, that is exactly what it has been and still is, slavery. Prisons was and still is filled mostly with African Americans. If we have not worked in these institutions for a while, we have no idea what is behind those bars.
Good afternoon. I had some good talkers before me, so y'all might have to work with me a little bit. My name is Dwayne Jefferson. I worked in corrections for approximately 42 years. I ain't like Romar, I loved it. I worked at 3 different prisons, but the one I'm gonna be referring to the most is Union Correctional. That's where I worked at for the longest. I retired in 2011 as a correction officer captain. Union Correction Institution, it was better known as the Rock. It was a maximum security prison. It housed approximately 960 inmates. Some of the inmates call it the end of the line. It was kind of known as the dumping ground of North Florida. At the time it was built in 1913. We never had an inmate escape from the inside of the Rock. At the time it was built, it was known as one of the most secure prisons in the country. This prison was pretty much self-sufficient. It had a library in it, a law library. It had a kitchen, a hospital. It was 3 stories high. It had a movie theater in it. You know, y'all probably say, what prison need a movie theater in 1913? I mean, I ain't figured that one out yet either. But we even had like the Bloodmobile, but it wasn't the Bloodmobile. We had do the same thing the Bloodmobile do. Inmate could sell his blood, plasma, whatever they get out the blood, you know, and get a day off from work if you give them some plasma. But basically, this prison, everything was inside of the prison, and most of this stuff I'm gonna be talking about is 95% of it is what I know. It ain't what nobody told me. So it's all right. I'm gonna be bouncing around a little bit, and because I'm gonna try to go far back as I can go back, and kind of tell y'all what the difference was then and what it is now. And but it's two kinds of prison. It's the real prison and it's Hollywood prison. So if you ain't been in prison or worked at the prison, then you probably know Hollywood prison. Well, I'm gonna kind of tell you about real prison. And about a couple of weeks ago, the pastor preached a sermon, and he talked about, I think it was about the lie. You know, in prison, we kind of about the lie. So I'm a, so that's why when I talk, I'm gonna try to go back, and I may have to kind of explain some stuff to make y'all kind of don't y'all gonna think I'm crazy. So, but first off, I'm gonna start with the pay code. That really the reason I went to the prison, because of the pay, because I needed a job, and they was paying. And at the time when I started at the prison, they was on it. The pay was like $14,000 a year, and now, so fast forward to now, they starting a correction officer of no education, 50, but right around between $40,000 and $50,000 a year. So that's pretty good. In I'm a segregation. Even after segregation was over at the prison, we were still doing segregation. It was the black and white inmates. Then and I didn't know it till way up in the 2000. You know, the black and white inmate wasn't sleeping in the same cell together. The only time a black inmate and a white inmate would sleep in the same cell was one of them. He probably was gay, and sometimes we would do it as a favor. He probably was working for us. One of us, we it was a hidden agenda behind it. It wasn't his, and it probably was our hidden agenda. And so that's about the only time there would be a black and a white in the cell together. And all that time, I mean, even y'all know when segregation was over, and then like I say, 2005 or six, it was still, but this was in Rayford. Rayford was a different. That's a whole different prison from all the other prisons. It's different. Now, I fast forward to right up the street here to Baker. The cells weren't integrated. They was in. I mean, the black and the white could sleep together, but in the same cell. But they couldn't do it at Rayford. Rayford was on Rayford, and what happened with that? Rayford came from. You know, if it was built in 1913, that went far after slavery. So when slavery was over, we were still running the prison like slavery days. That basically what we were doing. And so fast forward, I know y'all probably hear about a lot of rapes and stuff in prison. Yeah, it was rape in prison, but fast forward back to Rayford, when if the inmate got raped, he just got raped, and we was getting 14,000 a year. We wasn't really worried about no rape, but so. And I would tell y'all what we what we say when the inmate say he got raped. But fast forward to now, they got what they call we call it prison. Uh, they got this act just like they go to the Tallahassee to get these act approved for whatever. But if an inmate prison relief elimination act, that's what they call it. And so if a prison inmate get raped now, it's just like somebody get raped on the street, and they go through all the measures, take him to the hospital, and if you find whoever raped him, then he get prosecuted too. Back when I started, we were really shorthand on staff, and so fast forward that to now, the prison system is still short. So that hadn't changed. The working condition back way back in history, it was bad. The officers, we had no gas, no radios, no handcuff, none of that stuff. And we was in a building that was built in 1913, so you know what time that was. No AC, none of that. But fast forward to now, every officer got handcuffs, every officer got gas, every officer got radios, and that's so in the fast forward to tell you kind of how we managed back in history. We use inmate. We call them inmate runners. So if I needed some help, if I needed the, I needed another inmate that for whatever reason, I would send an inmate to go get him, and he'll go get him and tell him, hey, he need to report or whatever. But fast forward to today, if I like when I worked up this prison up here, if I sent another inmate, he probably wouldn't do it. But Rayford was a different story because if he didn't do it, then there were consequences. And if he went told an inmate and he didn't come, there were consequences. And whether he said that he didn't get the word, it still were consequences. But go back to Rayford, like I said, it was ran out of intimidation, and that's how they did it because at the time that property owner way it would work, it was just out of pure intimidation off of just kind of like they did with the slave. You know how it was intimidation. You know, the living quarters for the inmates, way back when I first started was like, we had some in the cell, they really were 8-man cells, but they went up to, sometimes we would have 16 inmates in one cell and with one sink and one commode. And all of them was in there with no AC. But I was in that same building and I ain't have no AC either. So it even out. But inmate inmate did have money back then. I don't know, everybody here might be out had plenty of money though. But back in the day, y'all remember how them old food stamp was in a coupon book? So the inmate had, that's what they had, that was their money. And they went to the canteen or whatever, but they had a little store where they can go buy stuff. And once they take the canteen, but they was on a book, and they had to be in the book. If they wasn't in the book, they was illegal. So they can go and purchase stuff in the canteen or whatever. But fast forward to now, the inmates have something like a credit card and they scan it, kind of like y'all do with y'all ATM card. But what happened with the coupon, the officers, they got paid like every 2 weeks. So by time we got paid on our by the time that second week, officer was broke. So officers kind of been start doing like, you robbed a dope man. So so when the officer got hungry, we know the inmates that had canteen, had coupons that wasn't in the book. So we just went shook his cell down, and that's how we ate lunch. So prison gangs, way back in history was really wasn't it really wasn't a lot of gangs like it is now. Way back, I only remember 3 gangs. I think it was the Blood Outlaw Motorcycle Gang. That was like a white gang in the Crips. But now, fast forward to now, they got like probably about 100 gangs, probably more than that. Oh, everybody in a gang now. But back in the day, we didn't recognize the gang. And the officers, we have a 4 gang, the Blood, outlaw Crips and officers. Officers, they call themselves a gang too. They had their own little gang. They were the gang in Brown. And that for real, that's kind of how they did it. And we didn't recognize none of the other gangs. But now the gang's really out of control because the officers, they acted like a gang for real. You know. And from time to time, we would have, inmate got killed. That was a bad prison. You would have inmate get killed, and then normal, most of it was inmates, killing inmates, and every now and then, inmate may get killed in a officer inmate incident. So that happened from time to time too. But normally an inmate, when they inmate kill another inmate, usually was by stabbing. That was their main method of killing another inmate. And normally when they did it, they when the inmate fought, they fought to death. They were trying to kill somebody. They wasn't just fighting to be fighting and we be all right tomorrow. They gonna try to kill you. And but today, fast forward today, now working at this little prison in Lake City, these guys go to fighting and they see the officer coming, they start running. But in Rayford, they ain't run. You got to stop them. I ain't gonna stop them guys. I just tell them they see you coming, they'll break the fight up. That's the difference from then and now. And that, we don't have some staff get killed during my time, and by inmates, and it was by stabbing, and but it was very few way back. You didn't have a lot of inmates. Even though it was like Rayford was the baddest prison in the state of Florida, you didn't have a lot of inmates assaulting staff because if an inmate knew if he assaulted a staff, if they didn't kill him, he gonna, like my grandma used to tell her, he gonna beg them to finish killing him. That's what we're gonna happen, and they're gonna change shifts. It ain't gonna be just one day. They would change when it'll be. We had 3 shifts, so you change shifts, so y'all know what time that is. So, like I said, the prison was ran by intimidation, and that's how they kept the officers from getting assaulted. Because it was by intimidation. The inmate know if he do something to an officer, it was gonna be bad. And kind of how what they would do is the back in the day the officer, they was already trained to do what they were gonna do. I'm gonna fast forward right quick, then I'm gonna go back. The officer today, if a inmate assault an officer, if up there at Lake City where I was working at my last job, they ain't gonna do nothing. They gonna wait till they gonna call the boss man and wait till he get there and tell them what to do. But if a inmate assaulted an officer in Rayford, they ain't waiting on the boss man. They gonna do what they gonna do, and they gonna tell the boss man what we just did when he get there. And that was the cover up. So when the boss man got there, all the boss man know is what I told him I did. And the boss man, he can fix that easy. But if the boss man there when I did it, he can't fix it because he got to tell the truth now. But if he come up and I already did what I'm gonna do, it's just my word over the inmate word, and my word gonna be better than the inmate word. I got moved. And I'm gonna give you a little example, kind of how that worked. And this true story too. One time we had it's an inmate. He took a female secretary. He took a hostage, and we had this officer. He was good. Y'all know Steph Curry, played for the Golden State. Yeah, this officer he could shoot a pistol like Steph Curry shoot a 3-pointer. He had ice water in his veins. And this inmate, he took a female hostage, This officer came in. He got a pissed out of the control room because it was on the inside of the prison. He came straight in, and you know how. If I fast forward to today, we got crisis negotiation team. They would have tried to talk this inmate out of letting her go. It wasn't no negotiation. He came right in and shot him right in the head, and 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 that was it. There wasn't no crisis negotiation teams that talking about it or nothing. They coming in and killing, and ain't nobody said nothing, and everything good. And it was just that easy. Because back at this time, you know, the female officers, this prison was so bad. When the female went to their dorm or their workstation, they had to be escorted by an officer, a male officer, cause in fear of what might happen. So you know, it was a bad prison. So when bad stuff happened, it didn't really stick out because it was a bad prison. They expected bad stuff to happen. So when they retaliated and did something, when the officer did something back bad, it was they felt like that's what they deserved, and was the mentality. Boot Hill, that's the inmate cemetery. Yeah, there's a lot of inmates that, you know, way back in the day came through state of Florida. These inmates, I would say, they came to Florida on vacation and stayed for the duration. So they would come through, and a lot of them, you know, would die in prison, or get killed in prison, or whatever. And Boot Hill is where we buried them at. You know, we built a pine box, and inmate would build one, and they would take them down to Boot Hill. If nobody claimed the body, they would take them down and they would bury them in Boot Hill. And we had a chaplain at the prison. He would come in, and he would go down, take them down, and he do his little thing, whatever. And they would have some more inmate bury him, and that's it. Because during this time, when this bad stuff happened, the inmates ain't had no phones in, you know, so they couldn't call home and tell when the officer did something bad or report, uh, bad behavior by the officer. But now, fast forward to today, the inmates they got tablets, they got phone, 911. Yeah, if an officer doing something to inmates now out of line, they can call home and snap of a finger. So that it changed a lot of things. Mental health in the prison. It's a lot of mental health in the prison too. When I started working at the prison, they had like 20 beds for inmate, with mental health. Now, not just that one prison, I'm just talking one prison now. And I left from over there, it had like 800 beds, for mental health, inmate with mental health problems. But, and I think one of the reasons on that was when inmate, way back in the day in Raper, the inmates, they was different breed, I guess that's how I say it. They were more tougher because it wasn't, they couldn't make an excuse. It was just, it is what it is, and that was it. But now the guys, they got more, you can't do the stuff that they did to them then. They felt, back in the day, they didn't feel, playing crazy now, you get more. But back then, you can play crazy all you want, it's the same thing. But you can play crazy now and benefit from it. So, okay, I'm about done. Okay, I'm about done. Okay. Okay. I got some. I'm gonna tell y'all a couple war stories. Everybody wanna hear a war story. Everybody wanna hear a war story about the prison, then I'm gonna be done. I'm gonna talk about the officers a little bit. Um, I'm gonna talk about the black officer back in the day. When you working at Ray, for everybody, you always need a good black officer on your team. He can make your job real easy because the prison ratio was so different. It was more black inmates than it was a white inmate. And it's like when you putting a white officer with a black inmate, it's like putting a dog and a cat together. But if you put the black with him, he could smooth out a whole lot of stuff if he a good one. But if he ain't no good one, it could be worse. And you need a good white officer. But the white officer, he gotta be straight redneck. That's what you need. And that's what you want, cause that's what the black inmate respect. And I'm gonna tell you how that works. It's like I'm gonna tell you, because sometimes you want to send the white officer, and sometimes you want to send the black officer. But I had this, and I'm gonna tell you the case I seen this white officer. I had this lady. She come in and visit her husband, and it was in the visiting part. And when she left out and was headed home, she called back to the prison, and she told me that some inmates was in the visiting part having sex. And she was real mad about it. And she told me she was gonna call Tallahassee and report her, but she said, I kind of like you. You always treated us good and everything. So I called back and give you a chance to handle it. So I called this white officer, and I told him, told him what I ain't even tell him what happened. And this kind of how prison worked. I told him, I gave him the name. The lady gave him the name of the inmates that it was. So I gave him, and I know, inmates they slick. It wasn't nothing I could do about it because I ain't really having that. So I gave the white officer the names of the inmate, and I just told him, these guys don't need to visit next Saturday, and it was just that easy. And then next Saturday they don't visit. And that's how prison work. I ain't have to go through no red tape, and my problem was solved just that easy. So, y'all got it? All right. Y'all good?
I feel like going home. I feel like going home. Though the trials come on every hand, I feel like going on. I feel like pressing my way. Lord, I feel like pressing my way. I know the trials will come on every hand. Lord, I feel like pressing my way. Can I get a witness? I feel like praising praising his name. I feel like praising his name. Though the trials they come on every hand, Lord, I feel like praising your name. I feel like going home. I feel like going home. Though the trials come, heartaches and pain, I give him the glory, I give him the honor, I praise his holy name. I give him the praise, I bow in his presence, I lift him up. Glorious is his name, oh God. We give you all the praise. We give you all the praise. We glorify your name. We lift you up. We praise your name. I feel like going home. I feel like going on. I feel like going on. Though the trials come on every hand, I feel like going on.
First means the beginning. It means that this has not happened before. We have a few of those people here with us tonight. These people help to make history at certain places of employment right here in Baker County for the very first time, and we would like for them to be acknowledged.
Good evening. My name is Leonard Bones. I am the first Black elected city official of McClenny, Florida. I started out, I did a few years at Zoning and Adjustment Board, and I've been asked several times before I received this position about joining, trying to sign up for it or whatever I need to do to become a official of McClenny. And I finally got an opportunity to do it when I was working at first, and I told them I wouldn't have time to campaign and do all that other stuff. So I was getting near to my retirement, and I had an opportunity to go and sign up for it. But what happened the first time I signed up for it, no one signed up for it, and it was almost time for it to close. So at the last minute, a gentleman came and he put his name in. So that means I would have to run against him. So I told them that I would decline at this time. So he's on now, and he's really a good friend of mine, and it's ironic how it happened, but it came up again, the position was open, and I went to sign up for it again, and this other gentleman, he had signed up for it, and what he did the same thing I did for the gentleman before me. He declined, so I was able to get in this time. And I'm in my first year of my 4-year term this year. I'm just a few months into my first year of a 4-year term now. So I've been in about 8 years now. But as far as encountering any racism or anything like that, I haven't really encountered anything, but from anyone as I know of, but you know how we are here and we look at what's going on in Washington, D.C. and everywhere else, and we can give our opinion about this candidate or that official, whoever it might be. Everybody got their opinion about stuff. And I probably encounter more from my own people than I do anybody else because I have support. I know from the people that I work with at City Hall, my city manager and my fellow councilman. And I've been told that whatever I need, just ask them. And I tried one time to do something in the community as far as kind of to deter the crime and stuff that's going on, like places in Jacksonville and all that killing and shooting and stuff in the community. And we was trying to have meetings at Ella Joe let us use his facilities to have these meetings. We had our sheriff at our disposal. We had a city councilman and backing me up. We had my city manager backing me up. Like I said again, whatever you need, let us know. We have stuff in the power lines out there trying to have fun day and stuff like that. They tell me whatever you need, let us know. But your own people, you try to help. And all you got to do is all they got to do is come. They wouldn't, only a few of them would come to the meetings. The sheriff works all day long. he wants to go home to see his wife and his family. He comes straight from work to the church when we have the meetings. Only a few people show up. We got food, drinks, and everything there, you know, snacks and everything after we get through at the meetings, giving them an opportunity to do things. But the problem is people have these, you got children living in your house, doing stuff that you know they ain't supposed to be doing. Now, it kind of put a damper on you. It holds you back from doing things. When you got people, when you're trying to hide this problem that you got in your house, and that's why we have so much crime, because there's no one to try to do anything about the people that you know is doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, living in your house. You got little children in your house, 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody gonna bust your door down, and God help if any one of your children up in the house at that time with a toy in their hand or something like that, and they come in the house. You know what's gonna happen. We hear it all the time in Jacksonville. Getting killed in your own house while you are at night when you should be in your bed asleep. You're not safe in your own house because you got people doing stuff in there that people out there, if it's not the police, it's the other dope dealers, gonna come and kick your door down because you done got something from them, and they gonna come and get it back. And they don't care who they hurt in the process. So we don't want that here in McClenny. Okay, nobody wanna come to the meetings. Only the faithful few came to the meetings every time we had them. Lo and behold, after we didn't have a meeting for a little while, up on Church Street up there, McIver and Martin Luther King Boulevard, a young lady got shot and killed right in front of her own children. The same thing that I was trying to keep from happening. But you hiding these grown people in your house, knowing that they're doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. Even the young ladies shouldn't be out doing stuff like this. Fighting in the streets, shooting. Young lady lose her life in front of her children for foolishness. Stuff like this, you got an opportunity. You know, if anything's going on in the community, all you got to do is call me, come by and see me or whatever it is. But people look at it, oh, he ain't gonna do nothing. What, you know, I'm an Uncle Tom, you know? So that's the way they see it. But the position that I have, I thank God for it. And I thank God he put me in that position. But you can't look at me and not like what I'm doing because what have I ever done to you to harm or hurt you? Nothing. You couldn't tell nobody, you know. Why you don't had a young man come and tell me, you know, man, I told him they can do this to get some stuff cleaned up around the community and stuff like that. Man, we can go get in. I ain't, you know. Well, okay, you don't do it your way. Live in a slum, you know. Even the people from Florida Power and Light come around and tell us, you know, about the lights and stuff. They tell us we come here to beautify your city, all the way back down Florida to Miami. FPL will put up lights in your communities, you know, but half of them don't want lights in the community. They'll knock the lights out because they're doing stuff that they don't want people to see. You're trying to get your community safe. But we got, you know, people that will come and try to do things for you because you got folks playing music all time of night. They're scared to go out there and say something to them about turning the music down, anything like that. Their own children, they're afraid of them. Keeping everybody in the neighborhood up. You know, I hear it myself sometimes, you know, and go, you know, we ride by there and stuff, you know, and just got trash all in the road. Can't keep it clean. I know Brother Phil does a good job about doing that here in Sanderson. I've seen him do it myself. Going around picking up trash in your community. You don't want this stuff in your community like that. You want to try to keep your roads clean and stuff like that. But as far as anything from anybody else, I don't have a problem with anybody else. I don't have a problem with anybody. Because my thing is, I treat people the way I want to be treated. So I don't have a problem when we have something to come up on the agenda as far as voting on it or anything like that. I don't have a problem with it because I'm going to vote where I can go home and go to sleep. I can't vote on something. I can't vote on something because everybody else want me to vote this way. I got to vote my heart. And a lot of things, it's not a problem with me because if the Bible can't back it up, like Pastor say, I can't go along with it. I want to go home and go to sleep. So say what you want to say about me, feel how you want to feel about me, but I haven't done anything to hurt, harm anybody. You know, I'm just doing the job that I was elected to do. I'm an elected official. I'm here to serve the people. I am here to do whatever you need me to do if I can do it. If I can't do it, I'll find somebody. We'll get it done one way or another. So you have something at your disposal in me, in the city of McLean. Even if you got something in Sanderson, I can get in touch with the city man, the county manager, and let them know. I can go down. I got friends on the county commission also. I can go and talk to them about some things in York City, right here in Sanderson, Margaretta. I've done it before. I can go and I can be a voice for you. But don't look at me as being an Uncle Tom or something like that. I'm here to help you. You have help at your disposal. It's up to you to use it. But as far as experiencing anything like that, no, I haven't experienced anything like that. It's people, a problem that we've always had, you know, like you say, you know, even at the prison and anywhere else like that, sometimes it's your own people trying to hold you down, your own people. And you haven't done anything to hurt them. You haven't done anything to harm them, and they can't even tell people why they don't like you. You know, that's what I'm talking about. Can't tell nobody why you don't like that man. Hadn't done anything to you. All I'm trying to do is be able to help somebody. And it don't matter, anybody in here, anybody in this county, anybody that I meet, my neighbor is whoever I meet. You don't have to live in my community for you to be my neighbor. I don't even have to know you to treat you right. And whatever it is, I can do whatever I can for you, for anybody. I've done it many times before, even with my own children. There's things that they need that I do for them. And we just gonna have to get together, and people in our house, our children, because when you see them doing something, you need to say something to them, because it can cause a whole lot of hurt, harm with many families when you go out and you're doing things that you know you shouldn't be doing, and now all of a sudden it's too late to say, when that bullet has left the chamber, when whatever it is, you get in that car full of alcohol and go and kill a family full of people in another automobile or something, you know, somebody's gonna have to pay for that. Somebody's gonna have to pay for it, and you're gonna have other families hurting, not just yours, but there's gonna be other families hurting too. So the position that I have as city councilman, I don't take it lightly, but I'm in a position to be able to do something that I love doing, and that's helping people. And I have many, many things at my disposal to be able to help each and every one of you if you need it. But all you need to do is ask. The Word of God says we have not because we ask not. Thank you.
I guess y'all say, I didn't know that. I'm trying to make somebody laugh. I didn't know that. I forgot about it myself. I'm telling the truth. I really did. When we was getting the program together, I said, oh, I was first someplace. So let me tell you all, I was the first African-American to work in the office of City Hall, City of McLean. They had guys on the outside, you know, doing the garbage and all, but they had never had an African-American that works inside the building. I was at my job of employment. I won't say where I was because somebody else is coming up about there. I was where I was working at the time. It was 1996, and I received a call from Mr. J.R. Dobson, secretary from City Hall. I didn't know Mr. Dobson at that time. And she said, Marva, Mr. Dobson wants to know, can you come and see him on your lunch break today? And I said, I can, but why? What do he want with me? Because I I didn't know him. I couldn't even visualize who he was. And I said, can you tell me what he want with me? And she said, I can, but I'd rather you come and let him tell you. So I did. I went on my lunch break, and they showed me in his office, and he said, Marva? And he told me a little bit about who he were and what they did down there. I didn't even know what City Hall did down there because I'm from Sanderson. I never had to go in there before. I think that was my first time going inside the building. He told me what they did there. And then he told me, he said, I have an employee that's retiring, and I would like to hire one of you all. He said, I would like to have one of you all. And he said, because you will be, whoever I hire will be working with the ladies, I wanted them to help me choose the person. And they said, ask Marva Williams. So that's why he was asking me. And what he said sounded good because where I was, we were selling out. And my job was going to Jacksonville. And I didn't want to ride to Jacksonville every day. And I was expecting my son. So I told him, I said, can you call me back about November? Because I said, I'm 3 months pregnant. And I want the job, but I wasn't going to take it from him knowing I'll be out, in a few months. And he said, no, you just come back in November and see if we got anything then. And he was sorry, and I was sorry too, because I really wanted the job. I didn't want to have to drive to Jacksonville. So I got back to work, and his secretary called me again. And she said, Marva, Mr. Dobson said if we can get your insurance to change over to ours, would you come? Can you come now? And I said, well, I have to ask my husband. I ask my husband everything, y'all. Y'all didn't know that, but I do. I ask him everything. So I went home, and when he got home, I told him about the offer. And he said, well, I'll let that be your decision. My decision was to go. So that's how I got there. I went there in 1996, and we began the church in 2000, this church. And my husband and I talked about it, and we decided for me to stay home and help with the church because we was just getting started, and it was a lot, getting things in order. And my son was, I think he was a little over 3.5 years old then, and he was a handful for the daycare. He didn't like daycare at all. And so it helped us out two ways. I was able to help get the church started, and I was able to stay home with him. But when I left City Hall, I was happy that I was going to help with the church ministry, and I was happy that I would be home with my son and I could take my daughter to school. But that was the best place that I've ever worked. I didn't have any problems there with the inside or the outside. And I just really enjoy working there, and I feel like it was from the Lord because of how it happened. I didn't even know him, and he didn't know me personally. The ladies told him to choose me. So I just felt like it was passed down from the Lord, and I enjoyed the little time that I was there because it wasn't long before the church started. So that's my story.
This is going to be short and sweet, Marva. Giving honor to God, Pastor, First Lady, and the church members here. My name is Lavinia Holton. I was employed with NEFCOM. Well, it was first known as Northeast Florida Telephone Company for 33 and a half years. I retired there after the 33 and a half years. And I did some jobs there. I was a cashier first, service rep, and then we learned how to program new systems there as far as, the billing systems and everything. And I answered the phone. I took payments, and let's see what else I did. Okay. And how I started my journey there is back in 1982. I always wanted to work at the telephone company because my brother worked there. And I was the first female to be on the inside of working on the inside building. My brother actually worked on the outside of the building, but he always had like the nice cars, the money. And I told my mom, I said, Mama, I want to work there. So how she got me there is because every month when her bills due, Mama say, go pay this bill in here. And I said, okay, I'll go pay it. So I kept going paying the bill. And then one month, Mama asked me, Mama say, well, did you fill an application out? How you gonna get employed if you don't fill an application out? So I requested an application, I filled it out, I turned it in. And within 2 weeks, they called me and I was hired there. And so I stayed there for 33 and a half years. And that's it. Thanks.
Good evening to everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Faith Bible Church for inviting me to be here tonight. I really enjoy Black history. We have such a rich heritage. And I was so happy when I walked in and I saw my classmates and I see so many of you that I know and love, I grew up with. And I want to say now, if I never see you again, I love you. You'll always be in my heart. And to those of you who I don't know, maybe one day I'll get to know and love you as well. My name is Nazarene McKinney, and I was the first person to work at Citizens Bank of McClenny. And Mrs. Mozella Allen is the one who encouraged me to submit an application. And she kept encouraging me to do so. So I finally did submit an application. And Mr. Artie Ruiz he was the president at that time. And so he took my application, he interviewed me, and I took a skills assessment test, and I passed it, but I never heard from him again. And then one day I was living in an apartment, and he rang the doorbell, and he came inside my apartment, and he looked around and he said, "You have a clean apartment, but you don't have any furniture." So he actually wanted to see how I lived before he hired me. And so he did hire me and I went to work. At first, it was difficult because there were some bank employees who had never worked with Black people before, and they did not like me. And there were some bank customers who did not like Black people, and they did not want me to know anything about their personal finances. But I persevered. And I had a friend, Lois Ruiz from Margaretta. She used to work at the telephone company. And so we would meet up at lunch time, and she would encourage me to keep on. And so I did. And as I worked there, I learned to enjoy the work. And I also received promotions. And so when I received promotions, that's when the discrimination really started. And I was called the N-word, and my character was assassinated. They could not assassinate my work because my work was great. And so what I really enjoyed about it is I was in a position now to help people from my community who did not receive preferential treatment. I used to notice that so many races of other people receive preferential treatment. They receive refunds on their bank accounts. They receive loans when they didn't qualify. So I gave everybody preferential treatment. And so what I really enjoyed about working at the bank is I got a chance to meet so many good people. And what I am most proud of is that I helped people in my communities that did not qualify for loans. I gave them loans. And those who needed refunds, I gave them refunds. And that is what I am most proud about at my tenure at Citizens Bank of McLennan.
Believe you can, and you are halfway there. African Americans are some of the strongest people there are. They can set their minds to do something and they will not stop until they get there. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.
Good evening. I am Dr. Kayla Givens, and I got a speech, but I'm chunking that because in the words of Miss Maxine Waters, I'm about to reclaim some of our time, okay? So I'm up here to talk about perseverance and a quick story, and I might have told this story before, I'm not sure. So I got an old soul, but I'm not that old, right? So I was born in 1980. But my first encounter with racism was when I was in first grade. So that was 1986, 1987. I was in first grade. Ever since kindergarten, I've always been in top group, what they call top group advanced classes. And it was always me and Erica Dixon. We were the only two Black kids in all of our classes from kindergarten all the way up to middle school. And you know, once you get to middle school, they start mixing, everybody just gets mixed up together. So me and Erica, and she was from Old Lusty, I was from Old Lusty, so we knew each other, we were friends. But we got to be friends with this girl and consider her to be our best friend. Well, she came to school one day and she told us that she couldn't be friends with us because her parents told her that if she was friends with us, she would become an N-word lover. And so it just so happened that we were going on a field trip. So she did, she stopped being friends with us, she didn't talk to us anymore. Well, we were gonna go on a field trip. And if some of you older people remember, I went to West Side, right, in Glen. The post office was right there across the street. Remember when the post office in Glen was right across the street from West Side? Well, that's where we were going on our field trip. Her daddy was the postmaster at the post office. And so, of course, before you go on a field trip, you know, they talk about, you know, you're going to talk about the mail and talk about the post office, and they're going to prepare you to go on the field trip and all that. So the teacher did, she prepared us. Well, when I figured out, and this is in my first grade brain, when I figured out that we're going to see her daddy, the one who said I couldn't be friends with her, I just remember feeling fear. Like I was scared. Like that was my first time memory of me having fear of something. And I can just remember the weeks, because you know they do a study, weeks and weeks, and then you go on the field trip. And I just remember being scared. So anyway, that same scenario happened to me every single year up until I got to sixth grade, right? So every single year, me and Erica Dixon, we were friends with everybody because every year we had to switch. Same story. My mama, my daddy, my sister, my brother said, I can't be friends with you because I'll be an N-word lover. Happened every single grade. So we was friends with every group you can think of. You know, back when I was in school, it was cliques, different cliques, right? You had the popular kids, you had the nerdy kids, so me and her just bounced from whatever group, you know, we could from year to year for whoever wanted to be friends with us. And that's how it was. But that experience put something inside of me because a lot of people think that I'm this outgoing person, but I'm really not. I'm super shy, super introverted, but I figured out what my gift was and my calling was through that experience. And so when I think about perseverance, I just became a person that would not give up. You can't tell me anything about anything because a lot of times it's even ourselves. We talk ourselves out of stuff. But I never let anybody else talk me out of anything or tell me anything. You can tell me right now the sky is blue and I'm gonna go look for myself, right? You have to be your own advocate. You got to be your own cheerleader because if nobody else is gonna do it, you need to be able to know how to do that for yourself. So even now, I work in education. I'm a college professor, and even now I tell my students, you can tell me whatever excuse you got, whatever situation you got, whatever problem you have, I got two solutions for you. For every problem you give me, I'm gonna give you two solutions, right? And some of my favorite sayings that I tell to them, I always say there's more than one way to skin a cat. Or I tell them, you're making a small sacrifice now for a big reward later. And then I also tell them the only person holding you back is you. So I want every person facing adversity to know that you are not defined by your circumstances. Perseverance is not about avoiding challenges, but facing them head on, learning from them, and emerging stronger on the other side. Regardless of our unique journeys, remember that success is not measured solely by the degree that you hold, but by the challenges that you overcome. With perseverance, dedication, faith, and a belief in oneself, we can conquer any obstacle.
Keller High construction was completed in 1956. Mr. Edgar Crawford was school superintendent at this time. Mr. J. Franklin Keller served as the principal of the new Keller High School from 1956 until 1970, when we integrated. Upon integration in 1970, Keller High new name became Baker County Middle School. Later, Baker County Middle School was named Keller Intermediate, where the name remained until their year ending 2023. The name of the old site of Keller High is now Keller Resource Center.
The legacy of Keller High School lives on through the memories of its faculty, staff, and students. A few weeks ago, I had the privilege of attending a Keller High alumni luncheon. To hear the former students speak so highly of their experience was inspiring. As the students were sharing their memories, I couldn't help but think of the goodness of God. Here they were in a time when they weren't allowed to receive the same education as their white counterparts solely because of the color of their skin, but their stories were filled with joy, love, and thankfulness. During that time, they received the leftovers, right? So the Black schools, not just here in Baker County, but everywhere across the United States, we got the old books, right? We got the used equipment. We got the old stuff that the white schools didn't need anymore, right? But you would never know it from the stories that they told. Some of the comments from the alumni during the luncheon, Mr. Dan Gibbs said that Keller was one of the best schools in the country. Miss Peggy Lee shared her memories of the teachers and the impact that each one had on her life. She said that Miss Lewis taught her how to sew and that she could sew you up a dress or a suit right now if she needed to. Mr. Peterson, math teacher, was the smartest man you would ever meet. He needed to be a college professor instead of a high school teacher. Mr. Gallen, business teacher, would hit your knuckles with a ruler if you weren't pressing the right keys. There was also Miss Carter, English teacher, Miss Hartley, history teacher, Mr. Jones, government, and Mr. Witherspoon, AKA Spoon, art teacher. They told us about the championship basketball team, playing on the clay courts, playing in the marching band, and the great football team. Mr. J. Franklin Keller, the principal and school namesake, was highly regarded. According to the alumni, he wanted the best for all of the students. He was present on campus and ensured that you behaved and made good choices. In 1970, Baker County was the last county in Florida to integrate. All students at Keller were sent to Baker County High School to finish their education. Many of the alumni expressed that they wished that they were able to graduate from Keller. The students who were fortunate enough to attend Keller during segregation got to experience something that most of us did not and will not. They had the privilege of being taught by Black educators, driven to school by Black bus drivers, and ate lunch cooked by Black lunch ladies, right? I bet that was some good lunch, right? It is rare, it is rare for us to be in a position to look around and only see us, especially as it relates to positivity and light. And I don't say that to be racist, but right now, today, you can't really name any opportunity that we as Black people have to be in a space that only includes us, which is nothing wrong with that. But right now, today in 2024, white people still have that opportunity. Right now in Baker County, a white person can educate their child with no Black people present. There are schools right now in Baker County where there's no Black people, period. No Black teachers, no Black students, no Black lunch ladies. This is 2024. So just let that kind of sink in. We don't have that same opportunity. And it's a cultural thing for us. When we get together as Black people, it's magic. You know what I mean? It's magic. We have a language and a culture that only we understand, and it's important. So we want to continue to preserve the legacy of Keller. Though the circumstances were not ideal, the faculty, staff, and students made the best of their situation and excelled in both academics and athletics.
Some inherit, some continue on from their forefathers, but there are some that began from the ground up.
And last but not least, and then I'm gonna sit down. In our era here in Baker County, he is a first. Our very own Pastor Vidal was the first Black pastor to build a church from the ground up. Yes, there are lots of Black churches in our community, but they mostly are in historic buildings that have been around for many, many decades. On November 11, 2000, Faith Bible Church purchased these 25 acres right here at the intersection of Highway 90 and Interstate 10 with hopes and dreams of building a church. On October 12, 2008, we held our first service in the new sanctuary. We are proud to have a leader who had the vision and obedience to fulfill the call of God on his life. Please join us in acknowledging Pastor Vidal. And these are pictures of our church, of our land, before we actually started building. I know most of us probably can't even remember what this property looked like before. It always seemed like Faith Bible has been here, right? And while we're looking at pictures, would Pastor Vidal like to say a few words? He said no. But these are pictures as we were in the early building stages of building the new church. So it's pretty awesome, right? Thank you.
All right, we have some entertainment for you all. Next on our agenda, Aretha Franklin, also known as the Queen of Soul, was not just known as a musical legend, but also as an integral part of the civil rights movement, as an activist who raised her voice for racial equality. Her most famous song, Respect, became an anthem for the racial and gendered political movements of that time. As Franklin stated in her memoir, it reflected the need of a nation that everyone wanted respect.
What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, do you know I got it? All I'm asking is for a little respect when you get home. Hey, baby, when you get home. When you get home, just a little bit, just a little bit. Woo! Ooh, your kisses, sweeter than honey. And guess what? So is my money. And all I want you to do for me is give it to me when you get home. When you get home. Hey, baby. R-E-S-B-C-T. Find out what it means to me. R-E-S-B-C-T. Take care, chastity. Oh! Hey, baby. When you get home. Hey, baby. When you get home. Hey, baby. Hey, darling. Respect. Just a little bit. 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 R-E-S-B-C-T. Find out what it means to me. R-E-S-B-C-T. Take care, chastity. When you see me sitting quiet, like a sack left on the shelf, don't think I need your charity. I'm just listening to myself. Oh, stop. Don't pin me. Oh, stop with your sympathy. Understand if you got it. Otherwise, I can do without it. When my bones get stiff and ache, and my feet won't climb the stairs, all right, I'll ask you one favor. Don't bring me no rocking chair. Yeah. When you see me walking, stop it. Don't get it wrong. I'm tired, don't mean lazy, and every goodbye ain't gone. I'm the same person I was back then. A little less hair and a little less chin. A lot less long, but I'm still hanging in.
Test. Okay. I'm saying Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others won't feel insecure around you. We are meant to shine, as all children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we face our own hold on. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, as we let me fight through it. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you.
Interracial marriage in the United States has been fully legal in all U.S. states since the 1967 Supreme Court decision, Loving versus Virginia. The number of interracial marriages as a proportion of new marriages in 2019 has increased to 19%. Being in an interracial relationship means facing unique challenges that your friends or family can't fully relate to. It is important to approach these situations as a team, being each other's support system during difficult times, and validate each other's feelings and experiences.
Good evening. We are Mark and Angela Oberry. We've been married for over 13 years. After we dated for over 2 years, we were engaged. We dated and were engaged. There were some, there are some problems trying to pursue a marriage for interracial reasons. However, when I met Angela, I already knew that I was attracted to ladies with darker complexion. So yeah. So I didn't have a hindrance because I knew what I wanted. So
Mark and I met by online dating. We talked for about 3 to 4 months on the phone before meeting in person. That gave me time enough to do my legwork because Mark worked at the Clay County Sheriff Office, and I knew an investigator that lived here in Baker County, and I talked to him and told him that I knew Mark. Asked him that he knew a guy named Mark Oberry, and he told me, yeah. So I asked him about Mark. He said, no, you tell me what he told you and see if we were on the same page. And so everything that Mark told me, it was true from the investigator. We had a lot of conversations on the phone. We both found out we had a lot in common. Our interest in chemistry was very similar. Having another race in my family wasn't strange. My sister Carol was the first in our family to meet Mark. Then I took Mark to meet my parents. Then he met my children and my grandchildren, and the rest was history. My family accepted Mark with open arms. Mark took me over to meet his mom. We bond immediately. I met his daughter Courtney, his dad, Mr. Joe, and his only sister Sherry. I met them 6 months later. Mark told me that his dad was still living back in the old days. Mark also told me everything that his dad and his sister were saying. They didn't like the racial, the black and white. He told his dad that if I couldn't come to the functions, he wasn't coming. He wasn't going. He wasn't leaving me home. So he proclaimed to be a Christian, and he said you need to act like one. So and if I didn't go, couldn't go, Mark didn't go. So he was going with me everywhere. Mark and his mom would share with me. If they said anything about me, Miss Wanda was quick to say, Angie, this was said. She said, but don't let that deter you. Mark was the same way. I took Miss Wanda shopping, to appointments. Prissy stayed with her when she was sick. Sherry was calling me more than she was calling Mark about Miss Wanda. And when Miss Wanda got real down sick, she called me. I went over to see her. Then when she went to hospice, Sherry called me again, what I need to do. We had a relationship. And then when Miss Wanda passed, I did it all. Martin was there, Sherry was there, but she said, Angela, you have to do it. I called out the preacher, made the whole program out. I picked the dress out, the pantsuit. I did everything. She took me in as a sister-in-law should, because I had never did anything to Sherry, never did anything to Mr. Joe. We went fishing with Mr. Joe. Let me back up. Mr. Joe when he did meet me, him and Mark went fishing, and Mark told him to come on and just meet her. So I met Mark, Mr. Joe, and when he did meet me, it was open arms. And then he asked me Mark said, well, you ought to let her cook you some Great Northern beans. And I cooked the Great Northern beans and that gummy rice that he liked and biscuits. And we got along fine. So when Mr. Joe became ill, he stayed with us. And the same thing, he stayed with us before he went to rehab and to the VA. And Mark and I doesn't hide anything. We talk about it all, meaning black, white. We don't, because I told Mark it's some nasty black people and it's some nasty white people. We don't hold nothing back from each other because of the color of our skin. So we have a good relationship in that area. Well, in all areas, I should say.
Just to add a little bit to what Angela said, when I went to meet her family, I wasn't reluctant at all. I wasn't scared, or thought anything about it, because she had already told me how she was raised, and how her family was pretty strict. but they had strong Christian values, and they weren't raised to look at color of someone's skin. And I had a couple people in my family telling me, "You sure you want to go out there? That's going 35 miles out there. You're going to be around strangers." It didn't bother me. I didn't have any second thoughts about it. And when I did, like she said, I seen Carol the first time, but when I went and met her parents, I mean, it was just always, I felt welcome. They treated me with respect. And even when I came, excuse me, when we started coming to church here, I mean, there's a lot of times when I was the only white person in here, but everybody treated me just like, I mean, I've always been treated good, and I appreciate that. I just wanted to close and just say, even today, interracial marriages are still met with a lot of disapproval from both society and family members. There's been a lot of stuff that's changed since we've been together for 15 years. I think a lot of it's because there's a lot of more openness with the same-sex marriage is now okay to do by law, with the Supreme Court. And transgender, they got laws they're passing on that. So I think a lot of the attention's going toward that. So, anyway, I don't feel like I get looked at as strong as I used to when I'm in Walmart. So, you want to say anything else?
Only thing I can say about Mark in our family, Mark is he mimics Carolyn. Mark is one of the nosiest man he has to know everything that goes on, and Carol just cuts him right off. Carol cuts him off, and I respect that, but it's all in love, and so we still gonna be with each other to the moon and back. So, Mark, there's a video about color by the Winans and Michael McDonald. Let's listen.
There is something that you need to know. True, we've been waiting. Racial wars have started long ago. You know, we must let go of what's been keeping us apart. Now's the time to put the past behind. Gather on mankind, make a brand new start. Oh, love has love shows no we know there's a difference in the colors of the skin. Be proud of your heritage and learn from the lessons they give. We must let go of what's been keeping us apart. Now's the time to put the past behind. Gather on mankind, make a brand new start. The institution of medicine was built on a foundation of racism and segregation, the consequences of which still permeate the experiences of Black physicians and patients. There is a significant body of work in medical literature and history books recognizing the racist policies and practices that prevented Black students from obtaining an undergraduate medical education. Once students were able to attend medical school, continued racist policies prevented them from obtaining society memberships critical to their success as physicians. Before 1865, American medical schools in the South were completely closed to Black students.
Good evening, church. Note to self, don't ever drink coffee before you have to get up and talk. I've been to the bathroom 3 times. But to all who don't know me, I think everybody up in here pretty much know me. My name is Norma Davis. I'm a proud nurse practitioner, proud graduate of the University of Florida. Thank you. Someone asked me, what made you decide to go to medical school or nursing school, I guess you could say. Thank you, Eddie. And I can simply say 2 reasons. One, I had to figure out how to take care of my family. I had to figure out an income that would allow me to take care of my family. So as I worked at the state hospital in McClenny, there were, I think, one nurse from Lake City, one Black nurse from Lake City that was there. I saw a lot of other Caucasian nurses, and I figured out that, okay, I think I can do that. I want to do that. I remember asking this one Caucasian nurse that I worked with, and I was asking her about nursing school, and her response to me was, "It's hard," and that was never said you can do it. It was just, it's hard. So I'm like, okay. At that point, I learned that don't ever tell Norma Davis something is hard. If you really want me to try to do it, tell me it's hard, because that's when I'm really going to try to pursue it. So at that point in time, that's when I decided that, okay, I'm gonna do this nursing thing. The other reason is I decided that I needed a job that was going to challenge my brain. My little brain gets bored very easily. And I needed some kind of education that I know that I would never get bored. My brain would never get unchallenged. So that's how I ended up becoming a nurse. I started out as an LPN, went on and got my 2-year degree as an AS degree in nursing, went on and got my bachelor's degree. And then 10 years ago, I went back to the University of Florida and obtained my master's degree. My specificity was nurse practitioner family practice. I worked at the state hospital, at the health department for a little while. I did family practice, cradle to the grave. And then I also worked in the HIV clinic. At some point, there was a preceptor, one of my preceptors that asked me, she said, do you want to come work for the VA? And I said, no, I'm not going to drive to Lake City. I live in Jacksonville. That's an hour drive every way. So one way. And so eventually I got kind of frustrated with my current job, and I said, okay, I called her back and I said, hey, do y'all still have that job in Lake City? I said, at the VS, I think I'm ready to go now. So I took my position at the Lake City and worked there for a year as on the hospitalist team. With the hospitalist team, my role was to, when you came into the hospital, my job was to take care of you. I was your provider. I diagnosed your illness, I ordered your labs, I ordered your diagnostics, and I found out what was wrong with you, and I made sure you got better, and I made sure you got back home safely. I did that for a year, and then from there I went on to, I ended up back in Jacksonville as a nurse practitioner, working with the VA. I now work for home-based primary care program. Some obstacles that I've had in this field, I can honestly say, and I believe it's due to affirmative action as well as DEI. I haven't ran into a whole lot of obstacles. Because with affirmative action, I've always made it a point to make the grade. I've always made it a point to do the hard work, do the leg work, get everything in order so people have a hard time telling me no. So the one obstacle, I wouldn't call it an obstacle, but I remember when I first got my job, when I first got out of nurse practitioner school, and I decided that I was going to apply for this urology job. To all who don't know, urology is the study of the bladder and being able to go to the bathroom and pee and all that sort of stuff. So I remember sending out this application to the job, and I was corresponding with the doctor that was responsible for interviewing me and hiring me for the job. And we corresponded on email. Everything was on email. And mind you, my name is Norma Davis. It's a very bland name. So you can't identify my race by my name. Some of us, we have, our names that people can identify your name and they can decide whether from your name whether they want to hire you or not. So I had a bland name, Norma Davis. So you can't tell what race I am, I don't think, anyways. So the guy and I, we corresponded. He had my resume and we did all this stuff through email. He was very excited. I could tell from the interview, from the email that I said, okay, I got this job. I think he's going to hire me. He explained in the email that the nurse practitioner that he had lived in St. Augustine and she didn't want to drive anymore. She had done it for 10 years and she was ready to move on. So we set it up. I got this appointment. We went to the interview and I was all, dolled up, so happy. My first interview after I got out of nurse practitioner school. And when I walked in that office, the color went out of that white man's face. And I could just see it. And I said, okay, you're not getting this job. But nonetheless, I still went through the interview. We really didn't even have an interview. We talked. He ended up telling me that after all the nice stuff he said in the email, he ended up telling me that I wasn't he was looking for somebody who was a perfect fit. And I was like, what the heck does that mean? So anyways, I shook his hand. I said, thank you. I appreciate you for interviewing me. And, went on about my business. I got in the car, my husband called, or I called him, and he asked me, how did it go? I said, well, he said I wasn't the perfect fit. So the lesson that I got from that interview was I no longer searched out jobs that were small organizations, because those jobs I figured out, they don't really go by affirmative action. They don't really go by the policies that you put in place to hire people based on what the qualifications are. So that's how I ended up back with the federal government, working for the state and always looking for big conglomerates because they're less likely to discriminate against you. And so, that's the one thing I got from that. So other than that, I don't think I've had a whole lot of obstacles. Working in this profession right now, I do get patients from time to time because my territory includes Jacksonville, all the way up to the US 1 corridor with the VA, because I do patients who are homebound. So I get a government car, government keys, government credit card, and I travel to my patients. So my job is to go see my patients who are homebound, who cannot physically get up and go or have a hard time getting up and go. So my area goes all the way up into Waycross, Georgia. I don't know if y'all know Waycross and a lot of little small areas up in Georgia. But for the most part, my patients treat me pretty good. But I do on occasion get some when I go in and they kind of look at me. And they, you get that little shock and that little, And I have had a few that have kind of challenged me a little bit on my decision making, but they found out real quick, Miss Davis know what she's doing. And then now, I don't really much have any problems with any of my patients right now. But working for the VA, a federal conglomerate, they are very good at making sure that that you don't run into discrimination. People don't even bring that stuff up. I do have a seat at the table now. I get to help with interviews. I get to help create policies. Because of VA policy, when we're interviewing people, they want us to have African American. They want us diversity on the team. So usually I am the only Black nurse practitioner in my home-based primary care practice. So of course I get called for a lot of interviews. So I'm happy to have that seat at the table. I'm happy to see how things are done in the back. I'm happy to see that when people come for their interviews with the federal government, at least in my department, no one gives race a second. Well, maybe they do, but you can hardly tell if anyone gives race a second thought. The way the questions are geared toward the interviews, you have to score. You have to know what you're doing. You have to answer those questions. You have to get those points. After we get through with our interview, we talk about it. We talk about the substance of the interview. We talk about how that person answered, what they said, what their tone was. That's how we make our decisions on who gets the job and who do not get the job. Unlike the person that when I came into the office and he didn't say it, but I guess when he saw that I was African American, like I said, the color, went out of his face. That's me. That's what I do. That's the little bit of the road I've traveled. Haven't experienced a whole lot of issues. Generally, patients are happy to whoever take care of them, whoever can come in and give them good care. They're generally happy to have that, and I'm happy to do it. I don't look at my patients as black, white. When I see a patient, I see a person. When I see that person, I see my mom. When I see that man, I see my dad. When I see that woman, I see my sibling. When I see that young man, I see my brother. When I see kids, I see my children. So that care that I want my family to get, that's what I give to people when I go in and I try to take care of my people.
Racial disparities or unfair differences within the system of mental health are well documented. Research indicates that Black people or people of color are less likely to have access to mental health services and are less likely to receive proper and adequate needed care. Black people continue to face unique threats to their mental health and well-being. As many Black Americans seek mental health services for the first time, we must ensure that the proper supports are in place to promote healing.
Good evening, y'all. My name is April Williams, daughter of Pastor Vidal and First Lady Marva Williams, and I'm covering mental health on tonight. Even though I'm probably the youngest person on here, even I myself have faced some racial microaggressions myself. I've been called a wigger. I don't fit in with the blacks. The blacks said, "You're not black enough." The whites, they don't want you because you're not black. But I've had to learn, I had to tell myself, look, you can't please everybody. Only person you can please is God. And man will let you down. People, rules are always going to change, but God always stays the same. I remembered I faced a situation one time where it was at school where a white girl had told me, she said, "I just love your white girlness. I just love this about you." She said, "Because you're not like all the other black kids around here. You're different, and that's what I like about you." And I told her, I said, let me talk to you for a second. And I said, listen, I said, you have to be careful when you make those kind of comments or statements to people, regardless of their race. Everybody's not me. Everybody's not going to pull you to the side and give you a teaching moment. Some people are going to fight you. They're going to talk about your mama and your daddy. But you just need to be careful when you say those things to people because that can be very hurtful. And she apologized and she said she didn't mean it. But those things do happen. And those comments like that do leave a negative impact on Black people as well as other people of different racial colors as well too. I graduated from Mercer University with my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. I recently got my master's level certified addiction professional certification. That's the highest certification you can get to. I tried for the CAP. Thank you. I was told to go for the CAP, but I said, because I have a master's degree, I'm going to go for the MCAP because that's the highest level you can get. I wanted to kind of point out some things and want y'all to empathize, like put yourself in somebody else's shoes or seeing things from their perspective. Right now, I work at the Lake City Work Release Center where I do substance abuse counseling with inmates or prisoners that are coming out. They're transitioning out of prison. They're coming into our release center where we help them with employment, as well as I provide substance abuse counseling with them. So just imagine this. You're coming into this work release center. You just served 20 years in prison, which I had one guy who I encountered with this, serving 20 years in prison. So you spent 20 years, you're used to people telling you what to do, when you can eat, when you can go to the bathroom, where to go, and then you're coming over here and they take you to the store so they can help you in getting some clothes and getting ready for your job. And this is what he told me. He said, it was just so overwhelming being in there. 20 years in prison, you're going into Walmart, you're going down the shelves, you haven't been in a store in 20 years. I said, when was the last time you remember driving a vehicle? He said it was a 1995 something. So you have to think about this. They're told what to do all their lives. So now here's your chance to rebuilding yourself. And it's a process. That guy may be physically free, but he's not mentally free. He's not emotionally free yet. And I also wanted to point out the story with the Little Rock Nine. Put yourself in that parent or that child's position. All that child wanted to do was just go to school. But every day you are faced with physical threats, verbal threats to your safety, and you have to wake up every morning and it is like a battle just to be able to go to school, just to be able to go and learn. And it didn't just affect those kids, it affected their parents as well, because your parents are praying, having to pray that my child will come home safe, that my child will come home alive. I know my mother would be praying if that was me or my brother facing that situation. And I call the year 2019 and 2020, we call that the big pause. I call that was my year of prayer, because December 5th, 2019, I lost my Auntie Joyce. 8 days later, I lost my grandmother. So imagine you're in a funeral. I have to sit on this side. While I'm at my Auntie Joyce's funeral, I know I have to do this again the next day for my grandmother. And if you sat on this side, I don't know for you all, I'm just speaking for me, but that is mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausting sometimes. Having to go through that grieving process and knowing I have to do this again. I already lost an aunt. Now I lost a grandmother, and I have to do this again. Mentally prepare myself for that. In 2020, that was another year of prayer for me, because just like those parents probably had to pray for their kids, that their kids make it back home safely, I had to pray because my father was a police officer. He was out there when the riots were happening. I had to pray that our family doesn't get a phone call, that we get a phone call saying something happened to my father or that he's not coming back home. That's hard. Me at that time having to pray. I know his job was hard in the beginning, but then having to pray that because of all that was going on, that I don't get that phone call. And I wanted to leave you all with this. Mental health is real. It is needed. It is needed now probably more than ever in these days and times. And I wanted to tell you all that if you ever need professional help or you know a loved one that needs help, just know that that is not a sign of weakness. That is a sign of strength, because it takes strength to actually get up and actually make that phone call and say, I need help. I need assistance. That's a step right then and there. And also, counselors, we are on your side. We are some of your biggest allies, because we're not here to judge. We're not here to put you down. We are here to help you on this journey of healing, because mental health is not a joke. Mental health is real. Thank you.
James Brown, known as the Godfather of Soul, provided inspiration for many through his musical influences. James used his music to break the boundaries of racial segregation that enveloped the United States in the 1950s. Both blacks and whites became engrossed in the new musical phenomenon. He recorded groundbreaking Black Pride anthems following the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His 1968 anthem, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, preached economic self-reliance and taught generations of hardworking Blacks it was time to get our share.
soul. Baby, please don't go. Please, please, baby, please don't go. Baby, please, please, don't go. Baby, please don't go. I love you so. Baby, please don't go. Baby, please, don't go. Don't go. Baby, please don't go. I love you so. Please don't go. Baby, take my hand. Baby, take my hand. Hallelujah. Love it, man. Baby, don't go. Baby, please don't go. Hey, hey. I love you so. Baby, please don't go. Don't go. Baby, please don't. Please don't go. Please don't go. Baby, please don't. Well, give everybody a hand and let's get up out of here. And some of y'all, I'm gonna say this and we finna go. Better not never talk about me being long-winded no more. I don't care if I preach 3 hours. I don't wanna hear none of y'all. And now one of y'all better not say nothing about me getting off subject either. I don't care if I start talking about Noah built the ark and end up with Peter denying Jesus and jump over on the prison cell and pray. Got that out. Hey, I want to thank all y'all for coming out, hanging in there with us, and all the participants. We wanted to make it about home, and we wanted to make it about the achievements. And it's very good to hear that, you know, in our generation, not long ago, it was all about race. And then to hear people in professions saying, now, I don't have that many issues to talk about. That's good. And it's real. And it's good to be there. We're gonna close out, and I think it's only fitting if we close out singing 3 verses of a song that was written by 2 brothers, James Weldon Johnson and Rosamond Johnson. And I wish that the words to it are so powerful. I wish they wouldn't have made it about race, because the words are powerful enough for all of us. The words of that, lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty. Even down to the last verse where he asks, keep us true to our God and true to our native land. Everybody come from somewhere. Everybody come from somewhere, and there's nothing wrong with being true to where you come from. So with uplifted voices and no music, and we're going to put the words up there for those of you that don't know it. And I wish we had time to hear from a lot more of y'all, but we got to let y'all go home now. Let my people go. Let my people go. Thank God, Marva, April, Kayla, they coordinated, put everything together, and they made it very diverse. They hit a lot of subjects. They hit a lot of subjects and a lot of topics, all are relevant to us. So I think that's a good thing. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. We've been here this long, may as well sing verse 2. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with the steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that the tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last where our white gleam of our bright star is there. The last verse is designed to sing slowly. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. Yeah. So God bless you. Have a wonderful evening. The Lord bless you and keep you. Give you safe travels. Good.